Meeting will please come to order. Barbara, please call the roll.
We have Commissioners Funderburk, Levine, and Noonan present.
This proceeding is broadcast on Channel 35. The exact broadcast times can be found by contacting Channel 35. I really have no opening remarks other than just gazing to my right, the ever-changing landscape here. And I'll refrain from further comment. Those are my opening remarks. Report briefing by the General Manager, including reports from Water, Power, and Administrative System Management.
I've got nothing to report this time.
Eloquent. Comments from commissioners on agendized items and requests from commissioners relating to departmental operations. Let me, before I call, let me just also apologize to those of you who have been waiting since 10 o'clock. We got hung up and were unable to start on time, and I'm sorry that you guys had to wait. Remarks from commissioners, comments from commissioners.
I did have some. Did Commissioner Noonan want to say something? President Levine and Commissioner Noonan, I had the distinct honor of speaking briefly at the Commissioner Noonan and President Levine. Can everybody hear me now? All right. Good morning. I had the distinct honor of speaking at the culmination of Electric Vehicle Charging Week and Electric Vehicle Week in Watts. It was we were supported it was a great first step for DWP to announce that the first electric charger will be placed in Watts in 2 months, partially as a result of the work that was done to identify equity areas, the places where DWP is doing equity, and the handful where DWP is not, that DWP will be working on over the next several years. And Mike Webster, I know you deserve a boatload of credit for Marvin Moon and I think Scott Triasco. Do I have the
Briasco.
Briasco. Okay, I'm sorry, Scott, if you're here. For the work that they did, and the other people, staff members from DWP who didn't, I'm sure had other things to do on their Sunday, and they took the time to be there. And the community members, Mike Chatham, who I met during the DWP reform discussions earlier this year, and somebody who probably did not have an entirely objective view of LADWP, I think understands the commitment that DWP is making to the community, as well as somebody who wears multiple hats, Reverend, and also the Watts Neighborhood Council President, Max Shorty, who's just devoted a lot of time to service. So I just wanted to bring that up. Thank the board for its support, because I thank the board for its support at the event. Thank you to Mike, and thanks to General Manager David Wright for the leadership in getting this first step going of many steps to engaging the entire city.
Thank you. Other commissioner comments? Public comments. Barbara, how many public comment cards do we have?
We have 5.
Okay, go ahead and call each public commenter. You'll have 2 minutes each.
Okay, the first speaker is Marianne Kook, and after that will be Mike Chatham.
Good morning. My name is Marianne Cook, and I've lived in Silver Lake for over 40 years. Trees are the lungs of the city. The LADWP promised the community some years ago, when the open water reservoirs were being taken offline, that the DWP would maintain the reservoir properties in substantially the same condition. While I could stand up here and complain about the neglect and poor condition of the landscaping and maintenance of the property, there's a much more serious and immediate problem that I can't seem to convince the DWP that it is their responsibility and that they are shirking. And it is yet another promise to the community that the DWP is breaking. I know there is a drought. The drought is being used as an excuse. All of this neglect has been going on for much longer than the drought, 10, 20 years. The community's pleading has gone on deaf ears. There is the option of the neighborhood that the DWP would just as soon have the opinion of the community that the DWP would just as soon have all the trees die so that they wouldn't have to be bothered anymore by all of their maintenance. The DWP will cut down a dead tree in a couple of days. Johnny on the spot. It took over 2 years of repeated requests for the DWP to agree to do a tree survey. That at that time there were 11 arborists on staff. The report was totally unprofessional and consisted of a phone call to Marty Adams that the trees looked okay. Pitiful. That was a lie then, and it's even worse now. Last year, I personally offered to purchase Tree People's ingenious irrigades, which do a proper job of slow watering the trees. All the DWP would have to do is place them and put water in them, move and refill. No response. The next try was with the person in charge of maintenance. I quote, "Well, if we water the trees at Silver Lake, we'll have to water the trees at all the properties." Pitiful. So since then, within my sightline, 2 valuable legacy trees, meaning 60 or 70 years old, have died and were promptly cut down. Wouldn't want the evidence demonstrating the lack of attention, now would we?
Can you wrap up your remarks, please?
I have one more second. The eucalyptus grove trees, which are the home of 7 active great blue heron nests, are dying. The entire city is aware that only way to water trees is a slow drip. The DWP, in answer to repeated requests from the community, turned on the sprinklers for an hour and managed to water about an acre of grass. It did nothing for the trees. I repeat, nothing. In the meantime, the trees are dying and the DWP is completely responsible
Your time
for
is up,
ignoring
ma'am.
these lungs of the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mike Chatham, and after that, Mac Shorty.
Good morning. My name is Mike Chatham with the Community Legal Research Center, and we stand here today in wanting and waiting and wishing for a better tomorrow. As the Commissioner Funderburk has stated, that we did have a fantastic event on Sunday in regards to EV cars and EV week, as it was celebrated throughout the whole nation. Our concern is that we have a chance to improve our technology as well as the resources that we want our people in Watts to have. It is important to know that when we look at the infrastructure, we don't want to forget a city that's 2.5 square miles and needing of resources that other entities and other cities have, like Sherman Oaks and Pasadena and Buena Park and all the other places, Encino, Tarzana, et cetera, et cetera. It is a concern of us to support our people as well as to demand the resources to be implemented in our city. So we stand here today with hope as well as wanting, wishing, and waiting for the FD metrics to become a reality to us. And on behalf of our organizations, the Sierra Club, who supported us, as well as the Watts Neighborhood Council, we do want to make sure that Mr. Funderburk gets one of our T-shirts in order for him to recognize our appreciation for his dedication toward supporting us throughout this equity metric community repower movement in Watts. So we thank you for all that you've done, and we look for better tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
He'll look very good in that T-shirt.
I was actually going to give it to you, President Levine, because I picked one up while I was there. I'm not sure it'll fit, though.
We'll try it out.
The next speaker is Mac Shorty, and after that, Kent Minalt.
So I stand here today to thank DWP for the partnership, the commissioners, Mr. Dave Wright. Normally you get the community comes down here griping and complaining to you guys, but you guys heard Watts cry and you answered us, and you've been a partnership and a friend since you heard that cry. I'm here today to challenge everyone who comes before the DWP seeking you guys' business, that Watts is only a community of 2.12 miles. Everybody in these nice suits, fine tailored suits and all of that, think about when you leave here the underserved communities that you guys are here seeking money to help out. If you really want to help those underserved communities, reach out to those underserved communities just like DW have. Accept the challenge. Call and say, how can we help? I don't want to preach to a crowd because I believe this crowd is already lively enough. But I want you guys to consider that when you're coming before the DWP, asking to help the citizens of Los Angeles, think about those underserved communities. DWP has. They have stepped up. Our next event is to educate the community of Watts on solar power. I'm not going to wait 6 months after Sunday's event because I hear the senior citizen lady who's living off of her husband disability income in a home saying, I'm still paying a $400 bill. She wants to know how I can help her. I want to help her by introducing her to solar power, putting those panels on her roof, helping the water comes into the little containers that's being passed out, plant a few trees so she could sit in her chair outside her home and enjoy this wonderful sun that we have. But once again, I'm just here to thank DWP, Dave Wright, the commissioners, the other staff members. So many people have stood before you with their complaints, but I stand before you just thanking you for the friendship, and it will never ever be forgotten. The Watts community has had issues, but we're going to overcome that because we believe in a powerful God and he's able to keep us all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Kent Minault.
Hi, good morning, Commissioners. I'm Kent Minow from the Sierra Club. I'm the captain of the Watts Electric Car Driving Ride on Sunday. I just wanted to thank the commissioners and General Manager Wright and everybody here really for the tremendous support you gave to the event. I want to thank Brooks Baker and Joe Romalo for helping publicize the event by printing up a bunch of flyers and putting a radio spot out over South LA. Albert Rodriguez for helping with the messaging, and Bradley Haynes for bringing the water service, and as was mentioned before, Scott Briasco and Marvin Moon for coming and announcing 6 car chargers going up on Century Boulevard within the next couple of months. This is a big change for the people of Watts, and the people of Watts notice it. And Commissioner Funderburg, thank you very much for spending so much time with us and for your wonderful remarks during the presentation at the event. It was memorable, and I'll never forget a group of rowdy neighborhood kids riding around the park, sticking their heads out the window of a Tesla, and they won't forget it either. Thanks very much for your help.
Thank you.
That was our last card for item 4.
Okay, comments from ratepayer advocate on agendized items.
I will have brief comments on items 6A and B and on 34.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now move to 6A. Who is presenting the draft strategic plan?
I will be presenting that. And so you have a copy of the presentation at your place, and then what will eventually be a handout of the strategic plan. However, they're both in draft format at this point, and I'll explain kind of the procedure and what's happened to date and then what we're proposing for the future. I'm a big believer in strategic plans. I think you need to have a goal of where you're going, and then that you can work to get there, and then eventually measure your accomplishments towards meeting your strategic plan. So about 10 days ago, 40 to 50 of the managers of the department got together to, by consensus, create a draft mission, vision, values, and goals for the organization. That draft I'll be presenting in a moment, but it's put in a draft format because we now need to get more input. We need to have the board review this, provide their input, provide their thoughts, and we can do that in either feedback during a future board meeting. We could even have a workshop if you'd like, whatever method you'd like, but we've got a document to work from, which tends to make that process easier at this point to work from something that we can all look at, edit, add to, evolve, but knowing that the top management looked at everything that the organization was doing, that we needed, that we thought, it at least gives you that document to work from that is the thoughts of the, again, top 40 or 50 managers in the organization. I would like to have time to present this to the 2 board members who aren't able to be here. So I don't think it'll come back at the next meeting, but it'll come back in a couple of meetings. And again, I'll poll you to see whether you'd like a workshop or just to provide some feedback, and then we present the final at a subsequent board meeting. So I'll just start off with saying we have a really good facilitator that we used, and this took about a day and a half. What I found is you can have a strategic plan with a large group of individuals in an organization that move towards the goal with a good facilitator, and you can do in that time period what it sometimes takes 4 and 6 months, and you literally get a better result, in my opinion, by moving this forward, taking the consensus, and turning it into something that's workable and usable, versus a big strategic document, perhaps this thick, that I've seen and I've participated in before, that then sits on a shelf because it's too complicated for anyone to really want to look at it or even understand it. So I've put some of the different things that we looked at and were considered, renewable energy integration, regulatory uncertainty, customer expectations, cybersecurity, drought and climate change, infrastructure. We went through an entire SWOT analysis, which allowed us then to look at the strengths and the weaknesses and some of the things that would impact us as we move forward. So again, by consensus, came up with the draft mission statement of the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power provides our customers and the communities we serve safe, reliable, and cost-effective water and power in a customer-focused and environmentally responsible manner. Really trying to look at the entire organization and the entire services we provide, put this down to a statement which as a mission is what we should be doing right now to move forward in all aspects of our operations to fulfill this mission statement. But it also helps that you have a vision statement as well. And the vision statement that we looked at was a 5-year term. Some organizations will look at a vision statement 10 and 20 years out. Some will look at it 3 years out. But it seemed like 5 years was a good time to start for this vision statement that we came together to create. And it says by 2021, the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power will be trusted and valued by our customers and recognized nationally and globally as a leader in innovation and environmental stewardship. So again, the areas of what we see that customers need, that the environment needs, that our leadership would like, included in this, but a way that we can move it forward and something that we strive to attain, but in a 5-year period, not something that goes out there years and years. We also, as part of the process, got together and said, in 5 years, how would we know whether we were meeting our vision? And this is not as much the performance indicators, but more of kind of some large things that might say we've accomplished our vision or we're getting really close to our vision. And again, it's a great process when you bring all the individuals together and they work together to say, as a group, what do we think would identify success? And you can see several met here. Meet 100% of the performance metrics defined in the class action that we're currently working towards. Meet 100% of the rate case performance targets. Attain the top quartile in performance benchmarks, or at least 90% in customer satisfaction surveys. Meet or exceed all local, state, and federal energy efficiency, water conservation, and sustainability goals. Be recognized locally, nationally, and globally for innovation and environmental stewardship with awards, grants, presentation opportunities, and publications. I mean, we really looked at how do you know if you're innovative? You can't say, we're innovative, and then that doesn't really work. But others recognizing with awards or grants or requesting that we present the latest way we've done something at an international event. We've actually got a request right now to discuss our renewable efforts in Panama City later this month, and we'll probably be sending somebody. But that's the way that you're recognized as innovative and that others look towards you to come share your efforts and tell what you're doing. And again, there's all the other items that we put together. And that's a really good process because it helps you really start looking at what actions we have to take to meet our vision statement, which are right there, and I hope those were up, as I hope I pressed those. Oh, well, sorry. Bump me next time. So again, core values, and we spent a lot of time looking at these: transparency, safety, reliability, accountability, exemplary customer service, integrity, innovation, equity, fiscal responsibility, and professional excellence. And again, these are the items that staff believes we should be striving for, and again, came up to look at the entire breadth of the organization. Finally, we look at 5-year goals, and the 5-year goals are meant, again, to be department-wide, and we have, of course, 2 very distinct services, power and water. We also have an administrative joint service that provides more of internal customer service, and we really did not want to get down to, in water, we should do this, in power, we should do that. That will be some next steps that I'll talk about in a moment. But from the entire department-wide services we look at, the first one was we need to provide exemplary customer service. We then need to maintain competitive rates while remaining financially stable. We need to increase organizational effectiveness, efficiency, and innovation. We need to implement 100% advanced or smart meters for water and power. We need to increase the reliability of our water and power infrastructure, achieve 0 injuries for our employees and the public, and be a leader in environmental stewardship. And again, these took a lot of time to work towards to create what were about the top 7 or 8. You know, you could come up with 50 goals, but the more you have, the less you strive towards, or the less you can achieve. Having something very specific, but having dozens of them are too much. Those are actually how you implement these goals. So we again came up with that, looked at that, and then finally, after we bring this to the board, obtain your input, we'll start looking at some additional ways and next steps to move forward. And one of them will set the strategic objectives with benchmarks and KPIs, so we'll move forward. We'll start communicating this to all the employees. I'm a believer that really every employee should be able to pretty much say the mission statement, maybe not verbatim, but know the key points: environmental responsibility or stewardship and customer service, and start knowing this is what we work towards. And then we'll look at looking how the ballot initiative moves forward, and a strategic plan should not be static and never looked at. It should be brought back to staff and board and reviewed and evolve as needed. And that's kind of one of those, okay, that's something major. After that happens, we need to look how we implement that and how we move forward. I will let you know we already do this process in a smaller group, a customer service and communications group. And while this is pulled from that strategic planning session, and this shows as an example what the next step would look like. After this moves forward, it would then be likely that the power system might create their own objectives, that the water system create their own objectives. And in customer service and communication, one of the 3-year goals for that subgroup is to improve customer communication. And what's important here is not so much what's in there, though that's good, but you literally get down to by what date, who is going to do what function, and when are we going to declare it as completed. And that way, and we do this every 6 months, you move forward. You just keep pushing forward one step at a time, and before you know it, you've done a lot. We've been doing this for a year. We just had our 3rd retreat in customer service and communications. And when we started looking at what we'd accomplished, it's amazing because, and this is outside the normal work duties, everyone's doing a little here, a little there, and before you know it, you just keep moving down and accomplishing things that you wouldn't have done otherwise if you didn't get together and put the goal into an actual work plan and move forward. And so there were, on this one, there's 3 on this page, and then there were 3 more, and that was the work plan for that objective for that 6-month period. So not something, again, that includes 100 people doing 92 different things. You pick 6 things, you assign them to someone, you get a team, you move forward, you accomplish it. And We've done some very good things as in customer service and communication, as you know, from some of the past surveys that you've seen. Our customers recognize it, and we have continually improving scores to show that the work is working. So with that, I will leave this with you. I'll poll you to see how you'd like to do the next steps, either as just providing feedback that we incorporate, or if we'd maybe like to do a brief workshop. And then, as I said, eventually we'll then put those edits into this draft package that we can pass out to employees, pass out to customers, and again, keep monitoring our progress. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I just have a brief comment, which is congratulations on this process. We've already seen such substantial results in customer service, and applying this throughout the organization, I think, is going to make a very big difference. So I salute you for it.
Thank you.
Dr. Pickle.
I'd like to compliment you on bringing this forward, and especially I'm a fan of simple mission statements that everyone can think of to settle disagreements. We will have feedback for you as you move forward on your draft, especially on benchmarks and KPIs.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We move to item 6B, the Community Solar Program.
So staff has been working very diligently to bring you a executable program on community solar. Am I on? And so I'm going to bring staff up to go through this presentation. We're not asking for any board actions today, but in a few weeks we will be asking for board approval of our community solar guidelines, some of the details related to leases, so that we can actually get this program started. But we felt that today would be worth having a discussion first and have an opportunity to ask questions. So I'm going to introduce Brian Koch, who will go through the presentation with Michael Buck, who is the engineer assigned really to pull this all together. And Michael's been working internally with staff, but he's also been working with the community groups to reach out to get as much feedback as possible, as well as labor to make sure that everybody is really firing on all cylinders to move this thing forward. So with that, Brian, I'll let you take over.
Good morning, commissioners. We're going to go through about 20 slides, and please stop if we have any questions, or wait till the end, and we'll try to cover everything that we need to present to you today. We're going to just briefly highlight again just where solar is and how this will fit into the overall package. Solar incentive program status is that we have about 176 megawatts installed in the city of LA. This is customer solar, but it's part of the local solar program. So we've given out incentives over the last 10 years, and all of this is on the rooftops of LA. In addition to that, we have our feed-in tariff program. This will be owned by the owners of the building or developers. You've seen various presentations on feed-in tariff over the years. We have about 15 megawatts in service now, and we're working on the rest of the FIT 100 and the FIT 50 projects that will be done over the next year or so. We'll be coming back to the board with some modifications to the program as well later this year, probably. We have our own utility-built solar program. That's a picture of Adelanto, which is one of the two larger installations that we've done over the years. And we have a total of 23.5 megawatts of DWP-built solar. So roughly the 3.5 megawatts is in the LA Basin, and the rest is in the high desert areas. We have power purchase agreements. This is the large projects that you have approved over these many years, power purchase agreements. This is a picture of Copper Mountain. That's one of the 315 megawatts of solar that we have in service as of about a month ago. In the last 2 or 3 weeks, we are bringing online another 210 megawatts or so up in the Beacon, Barron Ridge area, the high desert area. So we'll be well over 500 megawatts of operating solar in the next month or so. And then the rest of these will be done over the next year. So with that background, we feel that we do have have gotten a few awards from the department's point of view, from the industry. We've been ranked highly compared to other utilities. We've done well compared to the IOUs here in California. So we recognize that we've gotten a lot done, but we have a lot more to do to improve the equity in the area, and that's what we're here today to talk about, is another piece of the solar puzzle for the local solar. So the issue that's been brought forward here is community solar in the sense of addressing the geographic, the low solar penetration areas of the city. This is a map that was developed by Scope and Lane. Some of members may be here today under the Repower LA umbrella. So this is the map of incentive dollars, but it's also a map to some degree of how solar has been distributed in the city of LA. And if you're going just purely by colors, the yellow and the green areas, central LA, the harbor area, upper northwest, northeast, San Fernando Valley. There's some areas that these existing programs haven't covered well, so we're hopeful that we will find a way to improve the solar in that area, and that's what we're here today to talk about. Michael's been working for well over a year with his group to develop programs that we think will help that in many ways. So specifically, what are we trying to do with community solar? We're trying to continue to help meet our RPS, our Renewable Portfolio Standard targets. We're trying to expand solar equity by creating more options, both geographically and in areas of certain neighborhoods that need additional support. We're trying to develop options that fit both renters, both single-family residents. In these areas, we recognize that there's different physical solar options, and there's both different customer types, multifamily, single-family residences, etc. So we will be bringing, discussing here, two different programs under the community solar umbrella. We couldn't find one program that would cover everything, so we have two here to talk to you about. Local jobs, local training opportunities is important. We've been working greatly with community relationships. We'll talk about some of the meetings that we've had, and we're also here to also support the mayor and other city plans, including the Sustainable City Plan. Under local labor, we will be working with Local 18 under the Utility Pre-Craft Training Program to be involved in both of these programs. So Michael evaluated, and his group evaluated, over 70 programs throughout the nation, all types and sizes. We had stakeholder meetings, we had surveys of our customers online, we had physical focus groups with groups as well. We attended meetings in the community. We attended certain rate action meetings as well when this was discussed. So the conversation's been going on for well over a year as to what the options and choices might be. We've worked with the solar industry who are interested in being part of this. SEPA is a solar energy organization, SEIA. The meeting that you have here is Eastside Soul, which was a community meeting that the group attended, and have been trying to drum up support for this piece of the puzzle. So there's been a lot of work gone on. Just a few other brief items here. We've had worked with other utilities, and that's what kind of led to one of our solar rooftop program that we're going to be talking about. We've been working with SCAPA, other regional utilities, to try to build a consensus, if possible, of how others might do it, so that we're not outside of what will work in the area. Again, we've had public outreach. We've worked a great deal with internal stakeholders, and that is meaning, can we support whatever program we come up with? Can it be billed properly? Can it be presented to the public in the right outreach method so that everyone hears about it? Can construction support these activities, et cetera? So there's been a lot of work behind the scenes to get these into a presentation that we feel is viable that you can hopefully within a month or two be able to authorize here at the board. So we have two programs we're going to talk about. We'll talk mostly about the first one, but it's solar rooftop program. And then the other one we'll talk about briefly as well that'll come later, which will be a shared solar program. Under the solar rooftops program, what we're trying to do now is to get solar on customers' roofs. The DWP will continue to get that energy directly. We will get lease payments from the homeowners that participate. This is the homeowner piece of these two choices. This will be in the areas that we've been talking about, showing in the maps. We have a 3-year pilot program proposed, 400 roofs that will be built by DWP forces along with a training component, meaning the UPCT staff that will be rotated through these crews to allow a variety of new trainees to the department to get experience in working on solar, working in the community, and being part of this new program. It's a customer program. DWP has never put solar on anyone else's roof. We've worked with the city agencies, but not with the public in that sense. The key thing to mention here is that there's a lease required. We are leasing the customer's roof for 20 years. And that's one of the reasons why we'll be back here in a few months, because the lease itself has to be approved at the city council. The program itself only needs your approval, but the lease itself will require both your approval and city council approval. As an example of what we're going to be doing, again, to get comfortable with this program internally, we have installed solar on 2 water system roofs, so I thank the water system for helping us to get a couple of roofs. The picture you see here is Chatsworth Reservoir, a caretaker's house, and so this was a sample. This is a 3 kilowatt system that was built and gave our crews real world experience of what it means to do this work. This was done about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we are working through the lessons learned on that. The other picture that in here is another water system facility up in the northeast San Fernando Valley. Similar concept. This is a 2 kilowatt system. When we go to the public, we're going to be offering a 2, a 3, or a 4 kilowatt system depending upon the size of the customer's roof and the quality of their roof, meaning how big is it shaded by trees, is it 1 story so it's easily accessible, can't have a perfectly flat roof, can't have too steep of a roof, etc. So the program itself, the schematic of it here is that we will be, again, summarizing, we'll be installing about 400 PV systems on customers' roofs over the next 3 years. We will be working with our home energy improvement program, the HYPE program, to identify roofs in that area. We'll be evaluating the quality of the roofs from a customer point of view. We'll be working with customers. You'll see that there's a note there. It's $360 per year. So we're going to be renting the customer's roof for $30 a month, $360 a year, $7,200 over 20 years, which is what a typical system would be. So this is the summary of the one piece here. The department gets the energy, the homeowner gets an economic benefit. Specifically, what the rooftop applicants must be is a homeowner living at the home. It needs a home inspection in the sense of, is the roof adequate? Does it work for us? Spanish tile won't work for our crews, for example. So a typical asphalt AC type of roof for a construction point of view. It needs to be in the right neighborhoods that we're talking about for this priority enrollment that we're speaking of. We're talking about a 3-year pilot program. We hope that this will be a long-term program and we'll get lessons learned, and it might modify and expand to different types of facilities or homeowners or different areas, but we're trying to focus and address the questions that we see today. The department gets the energy, department's responsible for the maintenance, so the customer gets the benefit of this lease payment and to be part of the improving local solar. So that's the basics of the solar rooftop program. We've worked with the ratepayer advocate, Mr. Pickle, and I tried to explain the costs involved here. The $4 million that you see here is the initial cost of construction over the 3 to 4 years of the program, the 400 roofs. It's about almost $3 million in lease payments into the community for this 20-year time frame, and then there's be some ongoing labor for the department to maintain, to monitor, to get the recs for this and upgrade things as things go along.
What are RECs?
Renewable energy credits, that's the
Can you just briefly explain that?
When we talk about renewable energy, the way that the state calculates the value or the specific renewable energy is something called a renewable energy credit, REC, and that's what we get from whether it's large-scale solar, small solar, wind, geothermal. It all comes in the same calculated method called a REC, and that's what we calculate and report to the California Energy Commission to meet our RPS goals.
So I just wanted to tie that in with our RPS goals. This is not a handout. This is a method that we have of deploying our resources equitably, but doing it in a cost-efficient way so we can meet our renewable mandates as well. Is that right?
This is one part of our RPS program, and it does meet our RPS, or help support our RPS goals.
Thank you.
So Brian, also could you explain, you have the cost slide up there, but we've been providing an incentive program for the solar incentive program for many, many years. So how does this rooftop solar program compare to the incentives we've been giving over the last several years to other customers?
Well, the solar incentive program has been going on for about 10 years now, and when it first started, it was a very high incentive. When solar was very expensive, we had to give a high incentive to encourage solar, and then it's dropped over those 10 years in increments. 10 times it's been dropping over the price. When we look at the solar incentive payments, initially in the program, they were very large, and so we gave for the largest 400 solar incentive payments. So if you were to look at the largest facilities, and usually the earliest facilities because they were the largest amount of incentives, it was about $17 million or $4 a watt. So what we're doing here is we're providing a similar amount, 400 installations for a lower price. Again, now because solar is so much less expensive than it used to be, we're able to do that. So this is comparable to how solar has been distributed early in the solar incentive program.
Thank you.
Okay. So a brief timeline then for what we've talked about. Today is our board presentation, and we look forward to feedback if you're going to have any comments after this, and we can incorporate that. We'll be back to the board hopefully in November with the full board approval package for this program and the lease itself, which again is because these 400 leases will be a 20-year lease, will go to the city councils for approval. We've sent down the package, and it's almost there for the CAO review for the ED4 process. And then the program itself will kick off early next year for a 3-year time frame, and we hope to be back to the board sometime next year, and we'll be providing an update on this program, the success, hopefully, of how it's going, and an update of where we are. So that's part one of our community solar program, the part that'll come first. The second piece we will be back here next year to work on as well, but I'll briefly highlight it just so you know it's coming. We're calling that the Shared Solar Program. This one will be the program mainly for renters. We will be addressing it a different way. For example, a picture of a shared solar project would be, as an example, again, I thank Water System. This is the Maclay tanks. We are putting solar on the Maclay tanks in the northeast San Fernando Valley. This is the tanks themselves. There's also a piece of this program that is on the ground mount around it. And this will be a project, for example, where renters will be able to buy into a piece of a larger project, whether it's department or whether it's power purchase agreement potentially as it gets expanded over time. So the schematic of that, where we differ here, and I won't go through this today in great detail, but basically what we're going to do is set up a structure where in a larger project, 2 megawatts, 10 megawatts, whatever it is, depending upon the amount of participation levels desired from our customers, we will set up a way for them to buy into it as a block of energy every month. So they'll be able to purchase solar at a fixed price, very similar in cost to the existing department. So this would be equivalent to the cost stream value if you put the solar on your roof and you had a net energy metered system, which is what most people do. This will allow renters who can't put anything on their roof, or people in multifamily buildings where they can't be part of that, to participate in that part of community solar. This piece will be basically focused again next year. Let me go to the next slide. It'll be similar to what we've just discussed. Won't be any O&M. It's just a billing sign-up process. It will eliminate one of the issues that we've had from certain parts of the city where there's no credit checks. Again, you're a department customer. You can flexibly join for a minimum of a year, but you can move. You could take this program with you if you move. If you sign up, you're a department customer, and you can keep that. So this is the next phase that you'll be seeing, but this will come next year.
So Brian, comment on why this needs to come next year.
Well, we have, as you're well aware of, this program, as you could imagine, is a program that involves billing, it involves customer signups, it involves integration into our billing system. We've just had the rate changes that you're aware of. And so we've worked with internal staff greatly in finding what we're going to be needing to do, but the issues with the billing system, with the settlement that's ongoing, the lawsuits, we aren't able to finish this integration in this presentation yet until sometime next year. So we will be back here the third quarter, roughly probably a year from now, or hopefully earlier, when we can actually start accepting applications, getting ready for the program, working through that, and that will be the next phase of that. So those are the main issues that we have with that. It's going to be a complicated opportunity for the billing system change, and ultimately in 2018, which is the midpoint of the rate action that you approved a little while ago, is when new rates can actually be put in place, and that will be the final point when long-term opportunities could be done. So that's a quick summary of where we are. We have a last program comparison slide. If we've missed something, we could go through. But really, that's what we're proposing. We're going to ask for a 1 megawatt solar rooftop program with 400 roofs. We'll be back next year for 2 megawatt opportunity for shared solar, which would cover over 1,000 new customers. And we've tried to get something that works both for renters, homeowners, single family, multifamily, and that's why we have 2 programs, and that's why we have a staggered implementation scheme, because of the complexities of these 2 systems. And I thank Michael and his group, because they've been working long and hard to come up with these ideas. These are very new ideas. There's only one other utility in the country that has a solar rooftop program. So this is very unique and new, and it's taken us.
Did you say community solar rooftop program, or the
solar rooftop? The actual building on customers' roofs is only done by one other utility in the country. The community solar program is done on various scales in about 60 different
So we're the
companies.
only ones that are building on our customers' roofs, but maintaining ownership of the...
There's one other utility in Arizona, but they're not building it with their own staff. So we'll be the first one to do that, of building on the rooftops, using our staff, and getting the rec. So it's a new concept.
It's terrific. Keep up the good work.
Any questions that we should cover?
Dr. Pickle?
In your board package, you have a memo on some of the details that we have questions about in terms of how the pilot is doing going forward. Community solar means many things to many people, and it spans the range from people buying renewable energy credits, which you can do from DWP now or from the Sierra Club. And at the other extreme, it's versions of the shared solar program offered by third parties. Marin County has a program like that, and LA County is talking about a third-party shared solar program. The Phase 1 solar program is a way to test ourselves in terms of how we do in terms of cost performance. We think it's very important we monitor that, and we think it's appropriate as a pilot to try out the pilot and see how we do. And the shared solar program, we have some concerns about components of that. We'll share that with the staff going forward.
Great, thank you very much. Any other questions for us?
I just want to thank you for getting this off the ground. Like Dr. Pickle said, I share my much less informed observation is that community solar can mean a lot of different things, and it's important to remind the public that as a municipal utility, we operate under a lot of legal constraints. And this isn't a fairness type of thing. This is just trying to get the resources out in an equitable way, not in a way that would discriminate against one class of ratepayers versus another. This is getting something to try to make it available to as many ratepayers as possible. And I would just say to keep up the good work on your end. I want to give a shout out to Kent Minalt from Sierra Club and Jessica Goodhart and their leadership in bringing this issue to the attention of the board, because I don't think without the work of Scope and Lane, we would be paying a lot of the attention that we are, and the people on the ground and policy people like Mr. Shorty and Mr. Chatham are there to partner. But let's what I committed in trying to work on this piece of the equation was to try to make sure that this is done in a staged way, that community solar and other things that sound like equity are done in a way that doesn't overwhelm staff resources. I made that commitment. I want to make sure that you remind me if that's happening, and if you need more resources, so long as all of the ratepayers are getting fair, equitable, clean, and reliable water and power under that set of core values. I think that I will continue my support of this, and I hope that I look forward to hearing back as well. It sounds ambitious. It sounds great. It's great to be the disruptor and first adopter, but I'm glad somebody else went first so that we could have some benchmarking take place, because ultimately this is about making DWP more efficient and being able to reach not just Watts, but Panorama City, Pacoima, Van Nuys Boulevard, the schools, and being able to set ourselves up. Commissioner Barad is not here, and I feel compelled to say something that she might say, maybe in a little different way, and raise the issue just for future consideration to make sure that every effort that we're doing on this includes ways to include the schools and the children in the education on the importance of these initiatives. The children sometimes are our best communicators because in many of the families, which in this city we have a greater than 50% Latino population, the children are the vehicles through which we communicate. And sometimes little things done at the schools can make a big impact in terms of ratepayer engagement, something that Tony Wilkinson has really reminded us of in a very constructive way. And so this is a very big piece of things. And if you need my personal support, and I can't speak for Commissioner Noonan, but I'm sure that you'll get hers as well as President Vines. But if you need my support, please make sure that you know that I'll be there to support this and make sure that you don't feel pressure just to do something when you have so many other mandates and everything to work with right now. Let's do it, but let's do it right. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments.
Yeah, honoring the important spirit of equity as it relates to solar power. I feel that the one missing piece in your presentation, which I found very insightful, is, we've spent a lot of time discussing how we can store the solar power. And in fact, as I was paying attention to you, I was looking at the mail that was left on my desk. And, there's an article that was given to our board about solar power causing damage to California's electrical grid. In fact, the solar farms on March 27th were shut down because the solar farms were producing more electricity than our grid could handle. So can you speak to that a little bit and how you plan to address that issue as we do reach out to additional communities to take advantage of solar power?
Well, we've got a variety of ways of integrating solar. So that's a very large-scale question. The Integrated Resource Plan is under development for this year. It includes a lot of questions on solar integration. Many of the solar industry itself are looking into the combined solar plus batteries at a customer site, which is part of this. We have an energy storage component of the Integrated Resource Plan, including a proposed project at Beacon, again, megawatts of batteries. So integrating solar is a big part of the future of the department. The motion at the City Council last Friday of 100% carbon-free, 100% fossil-free, renewables, et cetera, means that keeping the system reliable is part of the future, but it also will be different, and it will need different technologies to keep the reliability as well. So that's part of our research partnership that'll be going on for probably 2 to 3 years, if not longer. But that's what the resource plan will be addressing. At this level, this is, we don't plan on putting batteries at this level yet for these customers, but we do expect to see that in the solar incentive or the regular customer interconnection program quite soon, if not a few now.
Yeah,
Does
so
that
let me
answer the
comment
question?
on that. What the solar incentive program is technically designed to end at the end of 2016. So what we'd like to do is come back to the board and figure out how we could turn a solar incentive program into a solar and battery storage incentive. So we're putting the incentive really in trying to facilitate the battery storage moving forward. So staff is working on that, and the goal is to bring back that proposal before the end of the year. So as we move forward with incentives, we're incentivizing the right thing moving forward. So I'm pretty excited about our ability to do that and start to see solar and batteries in our grid.
Great.
Yeah, I think the two go hand in hand. So I look forward to your next presentation and incorporating. It's great that we're taking advantage of solar energy, but if we have to shut down plants and we don't have the proper mechanism to store and use that energy. It seems as if that should be addressed in the next presentation. So thank you. And also, I did appreciate the presentation you led about battery storage and how universities are trying to refine that technology. But I do believe the two go hand in hand. So thank you.
I had one further quick thing. I just want to maybe, if I could just follow up with you after the board meeting and before the next one on the timeline, because I think there may be some more specific comments that I have related to that. Other than that, thank you.
Certainly.
Dr. Pickle.
Two of the commissioners have mentioned equity issues on this, and we have to point out this is geographically focused. It's not specifically, it doesn't have specific income tests. And if we want to address income issues, one thing we suggested in the power rate review is finding a way to update and still run the gauntlet of Propositions 218 and 26. Find a way to inflation adjust the low income and related discounts.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The two reports under item 7.
We have
management
3 speaker cards for this item, for 6B.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, the first speaker is Felipe Escobar.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Felipe Escobar. I'm here representing Pacoima. I'm also a member of Pacoima Beautiful. I've been living in Pacoima since I moved here in Guatemala. Pacoima, as many of you know, is one of the densest communities in the valley. We have 13,000 people living per square mile. So not only do we have a lot of people living per square mile, as many of you know, the valley is hot. It always gets hot in the summer. So we need a lot of energy to cool systems. I'm a renter myself, so I tend to pay high bills in the summer to keep my apartment cool. And just like me, many other people in Pacoima could benefit from this program, from the community solar program. So that's why I'm here to urge your support for this program, because this program will help us save money, will create jobs, and it will make us also be part of the solution to save the environment. So commissioners, please support this program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Alessandro Negret.
Hello and good morning. My name is Alessandro Negrete. I am a longtime Boyle Heights resident and current serving member of the Neighborhood Council. Recently, our council was invited to table at Eastside Sold, where they got to hear firsthand from environmentalists and learn about solar power. Unfortunately, we are a low-income community, and I've only seen one home with solar power. We want to prevent our neighbors and our abuelas and seniors from getting roped into straw deals and ripped off from private solar companies. And I hear your concerns and your comments, and I appreciate that your concerns are around, the safety and the adequacy. But as you raise those questions, I hope that you also think about those in this community in particular that are rent burdened, that have even scarcer resources to pay bills. Lastly, on behalf of the Boyle Heights Neighborhood Council and the Repower LA, we bring this letter signed by community members and the Repower LA Coalition, hoping that on November 1st, y'all can vote to adopt some form of the program or continue to listen to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to thank the gentleman from the Boyle Heights Neighborhood Council. Being a neighborhood council board member myself, formerly and now, in the following the path of Commissioner Barad, it's great to hear from neighborhood councils and the work that is being done with the neighborhood councils.
Okay, the next speaker is Stephanie Tsai.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Stephanie Tsai. I'm a researcher with the Los Angeles Alliance for a New Economy, and I'm a member of the Repower LA Coalition. We're here today to support the proposed community solar pilot program, as you've heard from my colleagues. For the past year, we've been campaigning for community solar, which we really hope will set a precedent for more equitable and accessible programs, especially to increase sustainability here at LADWP. Most of our city's residents, a large majority, are renters and low-income families. Yet there are very few clean energy programs that they can access or benefit from. Community solar is a huge opportunity to better serve this need by providing these customers with affordable options while helping to meet our local and state goals and mandates. The vision set by these local and state plans is for an economy driven by renewable energy. That means more local jobs, including local 18 UPCTs who will do the installation and maintenance work on these solar panels. And after reviewing the data, we found that tens of thousands of low-income, high-energy users across LA would be the ideal customers for this pilot program.
How many was that?
Tens of thousands.
How many tens of thousands? Like 10 or 90?
Well, I can get back to you with a report on that.
Okay.
And to that point, we're really looking forward to the equity metrics to help better inform that data. So I just want to say again that low-income seniors and families, many of them, as you've heard, need to use more electricity to keep cool in the summer and also for medical devices. Many of them live in the hottest parts of the city, like Pacoima, Boyle Heights, South LA. And they are economically vulnerable, and they will be especially impacted by rising temperatures due to climate change. So the good news is they want community solar. There's a demand for it. So we really urge you to move quickly to adopt the community solar pilot program as soon as possible this fall. Thanks.
Thank you.
That was our last card for this item.
Okay, we will now move to item 7A, Headworks Reservoir Complex Status Report.
Good morning. Marty Adams, acting as the senior AGM for the water system. If this doesn't go well, I'll have a word with him later in my other role. With me is Susan Regani, as you know. She heads up our Water Engineering and Technical Services Division, and Stefan Tucker, who heads up our Project Management Office. And what we're bringing to you today is the update on where we are with the Headworks Reservoir project, which is the replacement project for the Silver Lake reservoirs to comply with water quality regulations. This project was initially brought to the board back in December 2011. Commissioner Noonan will hopefully remember what went on back then. We originally had sought to do a classic design bid build for this project. And when we decided to move the project to Headworks location, we ran into a number of difficulties, particularly because of the unknowns in the soil condition, and eventually ended up in a situation where timing became critical to meet regulatory compliance. So at the time, we sought an ordinance from the city to do what's called the CMARC, Construction Manager at Risk. It's a version of design build to deliver the project. By doing this, we felt that we would speed up the time to execute the project. We were actually a little too far along in the work to do classic design build, and we weren't far enough to go design bid build. So this was a great compromise that we thought would bring us the most efficiency for the project. So at the time we brought this to the board, at that point, we actually were looking back through all the old board notes. There are a lot of unknowns, and we were actually only at 60% design for the project when we had to execute, because we had to have some room for the contractor to maneuver to help us through the technical difficulties and to gain some efficiencies during construction. So at that point, at 60%, the original design estimate for the job was $230 million, knowing that we'd be back to the board as we knew more and authorize additional phases. So hopefully at the next board meeting, we'll be bringing to you a request to authorize the final phase of the project. What was authorized was the first phases when we came to you in 2011. So real briefly on the background, this is a picture not of Headworks, but of Silver Lake Reservoir. So we actually had sought to make the Silver Lake Improvement Project at Silver Lake for a number of years. I know Marianne Cook was here, if she's still here. She'll recall that she, and along with about 400 other of her community members, joined us at Marshall High School as we had 17 different versions of ideas for replacing a project at Silver Lake. All of which had substantial not only construction and structural issues, but also impacts to the community. And it was during the course of this looking for a proper solution to provide covered protected storage or some kind of treatment plant at Silver Lake that we actually turned to look at Headworks as an alternative site. One thing that we noted, particularly the difference between Silver Lake and Headworks, is that because of the constraints of being in a tight community environment, that we expected that although we'd have similar construction to Headworks, we expect that we would have quite a longer construction period, maybe 25 to 50% longer construction, and in construction, time and money are the same thing. So we knew the project at Silver Lake would be much more difficult in the community setting and much longer, as well as the fact that we knew at all the locations in Silver Lake we faced some of the same unknowns as far as the soil conditions went. Next slide. So this project got moved from Silver Lake to Headworks, just upstream. We were in the midst of replacing the river supply conduit, which is a pipe that goes basically down the San Fernando Valley from the North Hollywood Well area through Griffith Park and then ends at Silver Lake. So along that alignment, we moved the reservoir north to Headworks, which is a site just outside the north entrance to Griffith Park, right across from the Mount Sinai Memorial Park and Forest Lawn Hollywood Hills. So that's the location we're talking about. Next slide. The service area, and this is an important point, Headworks replaces Silver Lake and its service area. So this is a very large service area. It includes all of downtown, both either directly or by supplying pump stations that feed upper reservoirs. It pushes off in East LA and actually could potentially supply all of East LA. It's all of central Los Angeles. That line goes all the way down the little white area to the, well, you can barely see it to the side of the green. Stefan, can you maybe point with the pointer if that works on there? Is the Watts area, and actually with the issues we have with the 99th Street wells and the mineral content in the water that we're resolving, Silver Lake is actually supplying the Watts area as well right now. And that water could actually push all the way down into the harbor, all the way to San Pedro. So it's a very large and critical service area for the city. Next slide. So just briefly, why we went to CMAR project delivery. Initially, it was the best way to gain time savings and make sure we met our regulatory compliance deadlines. We had a guaranteed maximum price, the key being that was per our scope. So as we learn more about this project, it's not that we've had claims by the contractor to raise rates, but we've basically changed the scope as we've learned more and the technical solutions have come into play. The contractor has a fixed profit margin, also acts as the advocate and construction manager working on the department's behalf. 90% of the work is subbed out, so most of the work is done by subs, and they're actually pre-qualified, and that work is bid on a low bid basis, so we actually are always getting the best price on each piece. The constructability review reduces change orders on this job because we're all working together as one team and making sure that what we're planning to build is workable. And then the last thing is that if there's contingencies not used, it goes to us. It's not like a flat price contract where the contractor gets the money whether they need it or not. So the next slide shows what was approved in 2011. The East Reservoir was a 55 million gallon reservoir. That's the one that you've seen we've had dedications on. And that's the large concrete box that's out there. Parts of the river supply conduit that are on the complex and the tunnel leaving there. We had a budget for the original reservoir, the West Reservoir, which is we've done the groundwork on, but not started construction. Hydro plant, which is at the very end of the project, and then we had some money for restoration, and that was a portion that we believe would partner up with money from the Corps of Engineers. Some things have changed on this project. This is a drawing of the East Reservoir. It's actually a photograph, believe it or not, of the East Reservoir with a concrete roof, and then the West Reservoir. We've discussed an opportunity to increase the size of the reservoir from 55 to 70 million gallons. This is not a absolutely necessary change, but I believe it's a prudent change. When you look at the size of the surface area and instances like the 99th Street wells going out, and this is the cheapest way to gain reliability is to make this project as large as possible, that we opted to take advantage of a chance to make the other reservoir 25% larger. So that is one thing that drives costs. It's a change that I believe operationally puts us in a much better capacity than we had before, since we are replacing the large Silver Lake Reservoir with these two buried tanks. Next slide. So the changes that require cost increase from our original estimate. So again, the original estimate was at 60% drawing. We did not understand a lot of the soil conditions, which is one of the things that drove us to go to the CMAR process. Otherwise, we probably would not have been able to do all the investigative work and meet the regulatory deadline. We had increased requirements from the State of California Division of Dam Safety. I remember Commissioner Fleming and I were at the site early on, and we were looking at the soil remediation work, and none of that was known at the time that we had to bring this to the board before. So this is all work that had to have, we knew this was an issue and unknown at the time. We just didn't know what the solution would be. Because of the large concrete pour, the floor is a 4-foot thick slab of concrete. We had a number of issues dealing with the massive concrete. Eventually ended up with a semi-truck delivery of ice every day to put in the concrete mix to keep the heat down. You may recall the issues they had in the news with the large concrete pour down here for one of the large hotels going up. I think it was the largest pour in the western U.S. Ours was not too much far behind that one. Increased size of construction, this would add substantially to the cost. It is the cheapest way to get more storage because it's part of an existing project and provides a lot of reliability for the future. We've adjusted for inflation based on current construction costs. And then we also are looking at the question of whether the Army Corps will be able to step up to complete their ecosystem restoration. And so we could see potential additional costs that we may or may not be responsible for. It was a little undefined how the project would finish on the surface and who would be responsible, but we want to identify all the potential costs. So this brings us to where we think we are at this point to totally complete all aspects of the project. And we're not seeking any authorization at this time, but we wanted to bring this to your attention and get any feedback. So because we went from only 60% design to the real world costs, the East Reservoir cost $110 million. The West Reservoir, at its enlarged size, would go up in price. The hydro plant has gone up somewhat in price, and we'll be revisiting that with the power system because there's also some changes in the amount of generation we think is possible. So we need to make sure that that's still an economically viable alternative. And then the restoration, that is the total cost of restoration. We're not sure where that cost will fall, but that's the outside number that we think could hit the project in someone's pocket. And whether we'd be responsible for that or not, or desire to do that, is still largely up to the board. Just for reference, in terms of dollars, because we are looking at a substantial amount of money to authorize the finish of this project, we looked at where we were with other projects to see how this compared. At Hollywood Reservoir, we built 2 30-million-gallon round water tanks. Back in 2010, that was a $142 million project. Encino Reservoir was very minor. We built a filtration plant and chlorine station, $65 million. Stone Canyon was a filtration plant, a small one, and a bypass tunnel for $122 million. This project, based on the scope of what it is and what we're getting for it, is not out of range with the other water quality improvements that we were required to build at the other reservoirs. Then we also said, well, how does this stack up compared to construction? Because these are big dollars we're talking about. And so we did check. The new Rams Stadium is $2.6 billion. I think we're doing well better than that. And the large hotel going on downtown, actually by the same constructor, is $1 billion project. So it's hard dealing with this when we're talking something in the hundreds of millions of dollars. But in the realm of large construction, this is a relatively minor project in the city of Los Angeles.
Maybe we can have luxury boxes.
Well, they'd be underwater, but we could offer those. So we wanted to bring this to you to get any feedback. I will tell you from my personal take, there are things that we could hold off authorizing. I believe the money to finish the second tank at the large size is important. If we end up needing storage or something changes with our water supply scenario in the future, it'll be a lot more expensive to build something from scratch. The hydro plant, we're going to make some more decisions. When we bring this back to you, if you authorize that, then we'll either will or won't spend the money based on whether it makes economic sense, or we'll have to make that decision again later. And the restoration project, that's something that really we could authorize money for, or leave out and wait and see how that happens. There's a lot of ideas because of the LA River plans about restoration. We've never envisioned that this was coming out of our pocket, but we want to identify what the outside cost was in case there was a decision to go that way. But we will be coming back to the board at the next meeting to seek authorization to finish the construction of the major infrastructure. And based on the real life experience versus what we thought what the limited information we knew we had back in 2011, And looking at the scope of what we're getting versus what we've paid for the other water quality improvements, I think we're right there on target. It's just you haven't seen these numbers, but these are how it's penciling out to be, and this is the revision versus what we had 6 years ago going in.
What other pockets could there be?
Well, interestingly, the Headworks restoration tied to the LA River could see some LA River money. There's not a lot of Prop 1 money for the rivers, but there is some money designated for the LA River, and I think a lot of folks acknowledge that with a variety of ideas on the river, the Headworks restoration could be one of the first projects to move ahead. I know even Frank Gary's group has looked at ideas for the how to merge this with their overall river thinking. We will get a basis for restoration as a result of just backfilling the tanks and removing the soil in a contour that we like. The question becomes what happens on the surface of it. So we have been working with the Corps on designs, and the Corps of Engineers, the funding is an every other year cycle, and it's very political. So you really don't know if they're going to be able to step with any kind of restoration. But we have no explicit obligation to do any particular kind of restoration. It's really yet to be seen, where the different pools of money would come in and how much the board would like us to put in from our side versus other contributors. So it's really an open book on that.
We're clear that there's not that much Prop 1 opportunity?
There's $100 million in LA River overall, and that's for in all aspects. And I think a lot of folks believe that some of that will be for studies on the river and some other improvements. But the river itself is a potentially $1 billion prospect. So there could be some money for this because it could be a good demonstration of what will happen on the river. But at the same time, you have bikeways that are going on. You have river crossing bridges and things like that. I think that money is going to chip away pretty quickly.
And besides LA River money, there's no other problem?
There's always a chance of getting some other kind of grant. The area will probably, because we're not allowed to have at this point have recharge go into the ground, there's probably not a chance for any kind of cleanup money or biological treatment of the river. There may be a chance to actually divert the river flows through it even more than we're thinking, and it may be able to do some what they call TMDL cleanup. The problem is right now, absent some kind of stormwater fee, and I know there's talk about how to really raise the money that's going to require for all the cities in Southern California to meet their runoff requirements. There's obligations to be met, but there's no money behind those obligations at this time. Now, if that changes, there could be a source.
Marty, how many industrial type facilities are located around this Headworks Reservoir area?
Do you mean in terms of the?
Is it all residential around it, or is it?
Well, on Headworks, on the one side you have the memorial parks, you have Forest Lawn and Mount Sinai, and then you have the Valley Gateway Industries Park.
So the cemetery.
Yeah, so the cemetery on the south. On the north, you have the freeway and the river, and across that you have neighborhoods in Burbank, and then at the
Warner Brothers is in Warner.
Very north, then you have the Disney complex. Yeah,
Disney.
And the animation building is the closest commercial building, and then to the west. You have a bit of a right-of-way owned by flood control of the Corps one before you get to I think it's Warner Brothers or ABC, and then you have and then going to the east you have Griffith Park.
So I think that there's some activities that are subject to stormwater permitting, water quality requirements around there that you might want to look into collaborating with them and the Regional Water Board. Because I think that they have new TMDL requirements that they're going to be under as the TMDLs roll out.
So there could be some avenues for funding there.
I'm pretty sure, but you might just want to check your.
Yeah, and so and when we bring this back to the board, and this is where we'd like to bring back something that you'd like to see. If you'd like us to omit the money for the restoration, that certainly would be an area that would be an open book for decision at a later time. My biggest concern is that we have the funding we need to complete the actual reservoir itself and get it properly backfilled. And I hate to bring something that looks like cost increase, but really what it is the completion of the cost based on what we're actually experiencing, revised from what we knew very early on in the game.
Other questions, other comments? Okay, well, it's always good to get some low-budget items on the table, Marty.
So we'll bring this back to you next meeting and have a couple alternatives.
Good.
scratching. Thank you very much.
7B, 2016 Drinking Water Public Health Goals.
So I'm going to stay here, and Albert Castellan, who heads up our Water Quality Division, is going to join me to go through this. I'll just introduce very quickly. We have a presentation. It's not the 27 pages of the PHG report, which we didn't want to drag everyone through. But what it really is just a brief presentation about what this is, because and the public health goal is something different than a regulatory standard. It is only in California, and it's something that we're obligated to bring to the board every 3 years. And so,
oh, okay.
So, Albert, you want to go ahead and take us through that?
Yes, good morning. So this item, of course, is related to filed item 9B2. And what it is in a public health goal is basically an adjunct that happens every 3 years to our annual drinking water quality report. So this kind of takes it to the next step as far as where we are. It helps us. It's a California Code of Regulations requirement. First of all, it's got codified. It's not regulatory standards, but rather they're state goals that are only reported in California. And they serve to inform and assist decision makers and the public. And they help us manage risk perception and risk exposure versus risk exposure. So again, they're non-enforceable. They are set, these goals are set by the Office of Environmental and Health Hazard Assessment, part of Cal EPA. And they're not a conclusive measure of water safety. So they're established solely on the basis of theoretical minimal risk to public health. And risk, again, is expressed as a probability. So they don't consider technical or economic feasibility of treatment. So these are very much aspirational goals. All large water systems are required to report constituents or contaminants above their respective public health goals. So that's basically what we have here. So when you compare them, what a PHG is versus an MCL, which is the maximum contaminant levels, which are primary drinking water standards, kind of take a look, a side-by-side comparison of what they are, what they are not. So Cal Safe Drinking Water Act versus federal and California Safe Drinking Water Act under MCLs. They're non-enforceable, whereas the MCLs are enforced via our Division of Drinking Water and are the basis of our drinking water supply permit. The levels, again, are based over exposure over a lifetime, and they're based on minimal risk to adverse health effects. So those are used as a basis and standard for setting the framework for maximum contaminant levels that are set that we must comply with. So those are set, the MCLs are set as close as feasibly, as technically possible, and the ability to detect, we're talking about, we get down to parts per trillion here. And it's tough enough to get to that sort of analysis. And also, is it economically feasible? How much will it cost? So MCLs are reviewed every 6 years, and appropriate revisions are made.
If I can make one quick statement, whenever you get in the regulatory arena, you talk about the cost-benefit analysis, you can always regulate that you want to have only H2O in the water, except nobody would have any water to drink and nobody could afford it either. And so with any actual regulatory standard, they have to make an assessment of what is the real risk and is it affordable, or can you just not afford to live anywhere? And so so the standards are, when they actually make an enforceable standard, they take everything into account, the fact that you can detect it, you can treat it, that it makes sense. And that's the difference in the PHGs, which are not regulatory standards for that reason. A lot of these, sometimes, some cases, you almost can't even treat to those numbers, even if you wanted to.
Very good. So again, large systems with more than 10,000 connections, like LADWP, we're required to report this every 3 years. It identifies and discusses constituents within our water supply that are in between. So they're in between the primary drinking water standards, but yet above the public health goals. We discussed the treatment office options and the cost impacts to approach, get down to that level of PHGs. And it also discusses our strategy to manage the level of risk associated with these constituents. So to summarize the report, there are 24 of 99 constituents with MCLs that were detected Of those 24, 11 are at levels above their respective PHG, and there are 89 PHGs, by the way. And the findings on the cost to treat to get down to that PHG level are $3 billion in capital and $607 million annual O&M over a 20-year life, over a 20-year span. Where we see and where we look holistically to manage risk and where we can get the best value here would be additional arsenic treatment of our LA aqueduct water. And we think that's the most significant investment that we could do to reduce risk to public health.
And that's even though we do meet the current standard. When we look at actual risk and health, potential health effects, that's the place that we see where the standard at its current level could use the most improvement, and where we see our investments would be warranted. So we actually are moving projects ahead that'll even drive our numbers even better, even though they're already below standard.
Would you mind reminding me our filtration water plant? How much of the water that Angelenos receive go through that plant, and how does that work with the arsenic treatment?
So right now, probably about 75 to 80% of the water that we bring into the city goes to the filter plant, whether it's from the aqueduct or from the State Water Project. And so the majority of that water goes through there. The arsenic itself is actually naturally occurring along the LA aqueduct, and that's the primary source. If you recall flying over Cottonwood Polymer Plant and Haywee Reservoir, most of that is settled out there. The filter plant process removes another amount as well. So it's actually below standard. But if you look at all health risks, if you look at all the contaminants, and there's another presentation that's been a long time since shown the board. You just take of all the standards where the risks really stand. I mean, you could take something like Chrome 6, and in spite of all the hoopla, it's a blip. I mean, it'd be the last thing you'd ever really address compared to everything else, even just based on existing water quality standards. Arsenic is the one place where the standard probably won't change because it would make drinking water unaffordable in a lot of the country. But we also know that even at the current standard, one of the best things we can do for public health is continue to drive our numbers down. And so even though it's naturally occurring on the aqueduct, we are working on an enhanced process at the filter plant that'll continue to push our numbers even lower, although all of our water meets all the drinking water standards. But we're looking for where the places that we could continue to benefit public health. Those are arbitrary decisions that, for the board to make, then which is your option to say, we want to be even further below the standard than we are currently. So that's one place that we'll be bringing projects to continue to push those numbers down.
One last question. I know that over the years we've taken less water from up north, given the drought, and that we've purchased water from other cities. When we receive that water, do we anticipate that it's gone through that process, or do we still undergo the same exercise with the water that we buy from other municipalities?
We look at all the water sampled in our whole system, and so it's not just source; it's water throughout the distribution system that we look at. And so, but when we buy water from Metropolitan Water District, they do their own water quality sampling. So when they deliver water to us, it meets all standards as well. But we're looking for occurrences of anything within our system, and then we're looking for anything that meets water quality standards but it's above this kind of aspirational goal, and that's what we report on in this report.
Thank you.
I think this is a great presentation, and I have to step out and take a call really briefly, but President Bynes informed me we don't have to vote on anything here, but
yes.
I want to commend you for the proactive approach that this water system's taken. And Mr. Gastelum, phenomenal work since February, when I was so worried I couldn't go to sleep at night, and now I feel really assured that problems are being identified. You are communicating proactively with all the impacted communities around the city as best you can. You're responding to the community when they say something. And I think that it's this kind of work, this is back to basics, like the Mayor Garcetti said, that's going to get us to where we need to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you. So that's a tribute to the wonderful staff we have that's been doing this type of work for years and years and years, but it's always kind of been behind, under the radar, behind the scenes, kind of. So last slide here then, just lets you know where we already invest. And you see the sphere on the left there, and we spend $1 billion annually to get, if the sphere represents risk, to get risk down to that middle sphere right now. So what this report talks about is what it would take to get down to minimal risk, and you see the relative percentage there, not very much, but at a cost of about over $600 million a year that we're talking about. So within our 10-year, $11 billion capital improvement program, there's about just under $3 billion that goes towards water quality improvements. And within that, as Marty talked about, additional arsenic reduction that we're going to invest a bit over $300 million on that. So we will see that middle orb go down just a little bit. And that's all. Any other questions?
Questions? I echo Commissioner Funderburk's complimentary comments. Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
Council?
At this point, we will recess into closed session in accordance with California Government Code and resume back in open session after that and report any final actions taken in closed session.
Good afternoon. The Board of Water and Power Commissioners meeting will resume shortly. Thank you. We're recording.
Meeting will please come back to order. We are on item 9, monthly reports. 9A1, water system.
I have no additional comments unless any questions about the reports.
Questions? No questions? Water system monthly report for April. Yeah, that goes for March and April, okay. Financial services, June.
This is for our June closing. We do have a few more year-end adjustments, but we expect to meet all of our financial targets, and we met all of our revenue requirements.
Great, thank you. Good report. COO, July.
Nothing to add besides what's included in your packet.
Power system, July, and RPS, July and August.
So for items 5, 6, and 7, I'll be happy to answer any questions, but no additional information at this time.
Any questions? Thank you. Good reports. Okay, item 10, discussion with neighborhood council representatives on any neighborhood council resolution or community impact statement filed with the city clerk, which relate to any agenda item listed or being considered on this agenda for the Water and Power Board.
There's no community impact statements or formal positions were filed by any neighborhood councils on the items on today's agenda.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for the board meeting of August 16th?
So moved.
Second? Those in favor? Aye. Okay. I believe, well, I want to move to defer item 34. Is there a second?
Second?
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's
Aye.
deferred. Okay, we've got speaker cards on items 23, 24, and 25. Other than those items, do any commissioners wish to remove any other items from the consent calendar?
Oh, shoot. Excuse me. Commissioner Levine, I have to recuse myself from item 30. I'm sorry. I
Okay, well,
overlooked
so
it.
we'll pull, well, you know, that means we'll have to defer it because we won't have a quorum.
Yes.
So is there a motion to defer item 30?
So moved.
Second? Are you allowed to vote?
I
to
don't
defer?
know.
You voted to defer, yes.
We'll consider it appropriate to defer based upon your need to recuse. We won't just want to have a quorum for it, so it'll be deferred.
Thank you.
So is there a motion to approve items 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 26, 27, 28, 29, 31, 32, and 33?
So moved.
Second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those are approved. There can be somewhat of an exodus. Okay, there are 3 items to be considered, items 23, 24, and 25. I want to make an administrative announcement on item 25, but I'll wait till the room is cleared. Ladies and gentlemen, on item 25, we've received substantial written material. We believe we've had an opportunity to review the positions that both sides have on item 25. We have 12 speaker cards. I'm going to limit each speaker to no more than 1 minute, so prepare yourselves for that. Beyond 1 minute, you'll be cut off. I was thinking of doing it to 45 seconds, but we'll leave it at 1 minute. But that will be the amount of time available per speaker, and if anybody begins to repeat anything anybody else said, they'll be cut off. We just have too many speaker cards on it. Item 23, contract number 494 for transformers, subservice, single phase with Power Partners. Who is presenting that item? 23?
So if you'd like a discussion, I'll have Bassam come up. Was there a
Well, there's
speaker
a
card on
speaker
this
card
one?
on
Maybe
it.
we should
Just
hear the
right.
speaker card
Okay.
first.
Yeah.
The speaker is, for item number 23, is Thomas Yang.
Good afternoon. My name is Thomas Yang. I represent a company that participated in IFB 494. It's item 23 in your agenda. I'm here because we are the lowest bidder, but as you can see, we are not recommended for this contract. I disagree with the decisions LADLP made, and I filed a protest accordingly. But after many letters going back and forth, I realized it is very difficult, nearly impossible to overturn the decision. So I have a final letter sent out to Chain Supply yesterday, withdrawing our protest. But I'm here to discuss other matter in this bidding procedure. There was one article that I had an issue with. I thought was very unreasonable. It was a sample request that submit a sample in 2 weeks. I thought was very unreasonable because transformer is not a ready-made item. It is not shop item. It is strictly custom-made, very carefully designed. Typically, lead time on this transformer is 90 to 120 days, but we are asked to submit sample in 14 days. So I thought it was very unreasonable, and our company was the only company that asked to submit this sample in this bidding. I submitted sample in 14 days to thinking that we're going to get the contract, but we didn't get the contract, unfortunately. But fairness of the future bidding evaluation process, I believe this sample condition needs to be removed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mike?
Okay, so Bassam, if you want to come up, but the basic issue is that there's an opening of 30 inches in diameter, and the bidder recommended a transformer that had a ring size of 32.3 inches, which is not going to fit into a 30 diameter space. And on that basis, they were disqualified. So Bassam, if you'd like to add additional information, please do.
Yes. Good afternoon. Bassam Abu Shakra, Power Engineering Division. So these submersible or subsurface transformers are installed in vaults, and normally the vaults have a very strict dimension and they have to fit, so our construction crews be able to drop and replace a failed or an upgraded transformer. So our standard language, because sometimes we get new bidders and we have to expedite the evaluation, so we ask for samples. And that language was developed working with the city attorney and supply chain services, because prices are only valid for 90 days. So we have to get the sample, we have to evaluate it, we have to prepare a recommendation of award and finalize the board package. But this is what happened. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? No. There a motion?
So moved.
Second. Those in favor?
Aye.
It's approved.
Thank you.
There's a speaker card on item 24.
Yeah, item 24 is.
Using myself
Oh,
on item
okay.
24.
Okay, the speaker is Craig Chisholm.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good afternoon. In this matter, my client is here as well too. We were the lowest bidder, and of note, we filed a lawsuit, filed and served it on Friday against LADWP, and part of that lawsuit concerns this bid. We would propose that this matter is deferred until the LADWP or the commission digests it, and then we possibly resolve it for all the parties involved.
We plan to vote on it today, so we'll hear what you have to say.
Okay, so would you like me to continue in terms of why we believe that the bid should have been in the client?
Sure.
Okay, so as we delineated in the appeal process, the issues raised by the LADWP were inconsequential. We actually referred to items in the brochure. I think under normal circumstances, my client would have got the bid. Here, we're making the allegation that, in fact, there's prejudicial decisions made by Mr. Kissinger in regards to that regarding an underlying matter. Also, a declaration that was submitted was false. We took a deposition, which has now been signed under penalty of perjury. We do believe that LADWP, there are some concerning issues regarding this and prejudicial comments and stances taken in regards to our client by LADWP through Mr. Kissinger. My client is here. We can speak to more of the specifics as to why we believe we should have got the bid. We're happy to do that.
Okay, thank you. Mike?
All right, so Bassam, I'm going to have you come up as well to walk through the process of the filing and then our response.
We're not going to have a debate, so we appreciate your testimony, but we're now going to hear from staff.
Okay. Would the board also like to hear from our client who's here as well too?
If he wants to speak for up to 2 minutes, he could do that.
I think we should do that for the record.
So why don't you have him do that first?
Okay, thank
And
you.
then have him fill out a card too.
Please,
afternoon, Your Honor.
please introduce yourself.
My name is Fred Befari, and I'm the president of APCO Development Corporation. APCO Trading Company, established 1976, 40 years ago.
Go ahead and proceed.
I mean, well, there has recently, in the past 2 or 3 years, there has been a pattern of prejudice against APCO for unknown reasons. Let's say the purchasing, Ms. Williams has put my name on the security watch list. I cannot come into the building without security guard, which was very embarrassing, and nobody tells me the reason behind it. I'm a U.S. citizen, have a good record, and I don't understand the reason behind it. It's a pattern of prejudice generally, and specifically on this contract that is before the board today. Mr. Bernard Kissinger prepared the faulty specifications, which was contradicting, and then in the underlying the previous forklift opportunity, and he asked us to upgrade the models, and we upgrade the model. He didn't want to pay, so he established a kind of animosity toward APCO, and that is the reason that he's not recommending award of this second forklift contract to APCO. We bid exactly the model numbers that LADWP specified, without any exception. And there is absolutely no reason for APCO as a low bidder receive this contract. You know, the prejudice and animosity and vengeance has gone so far that Mr. Kissinger has submitted a false declaration in the underlying case dispute between APCO and its vendor, and cause a substantial amount of damages, and now he's not recommending award of this contract to APCO. So I just want to let the board know that we would like to continue a good relationship between the vendor and the public entity, which is LADWP, and that is why I thought that a 2-week deferral would help, so that we can hopefully resolve an overall resolution of the 15 claims that we have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Bassam, if you would summarize the protest and the determinations that staff made.
Good afternoon again. So this invitation for bid is a one-time purchase for 16 forklifts. The specification was divided into 4 separate groups that can be awarded separately, so we can increase participation. And we did get 3 bids, very competitive, and we're recommending award. It's 3% below our estimate. So we did receive the protest, and it was addressed properly. APCO submitted incomplete mandatory forms 11 and 12. And these forms, you know, they're the fleet requirements, so our engineering staff can do the evaluation and see if they meet the specification. So in one instances, we asked them, are you planning to make any changes? And the response was yes. And if they respond yes, they have to tell us what are the changes. Well, it was blank. And then later, after the bid closed, they sent a letter to Supply Chain Services, changing their position from yes to no. And you know, you cannot change your bid after the bid closes. So that's one thing. The other thing is the bidder specification. When our engineering staff wants to do the evaluation, they have to look at the complete response. And in this case, it was incomplete. And I do have a printout copy, and I can show you exactly where they did not mention. They did include the brochure, but the brochure has different sizes and different type engines. The other companies that submitted a bid, they were very specific, and they meet the technical requirement of the specification. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
May I respond?
No, you may not. I'm sorry. Thank you. Any questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we move to item 25, where we have the 12 speaker cards. Contract number 751 for services for vegetation management services for Power Line Clearance Utility Tree Service, Inc. Barbara, please make sure we limit each speaker to 1 minute maximum each, and you may call the speakers.
Okay. The first speaker is David Gershwin, and after that, Matthew Hinks.
Good afternoon, President Levine and Commissioners. David Gershwin here on behalf of Davy Tree Surgery. Due to some irregularities in the application of the local business preference, my client was unable, as the lowest bidder, to be awarded the Southern Region contract. You, as a body, have the discretion to make a decision that's in the best interest of the department and of the ratepayers. So if you were to award the Southern Region contract to Davy Tree Surgery, the department would save $250,000 over 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Matthew Hinks, and after that, Larry Abernathy.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Matthew Hinks, and I represent the protesting party, Davy Tree Company, Inc. There has been a development here just today in terms of this proceeding and this bid protest. You're being told by your staff in the staff report that the local business preference program determination is not before this commission, and that the only person, the only department that makes that determination is in Public Works and the Board of Contract Administration. We received an email just as we were sitting here at 11:30 today from the Board of Public Works, the individual who made the determination that Davy Tree doesn't qualify. Now, they were wrong, and we're going to get that set aside. But for now, let me just tell you I'm going to have to read the appeal because it's not, the email, because it's not before you. So it says, upon review of the most recent letter from your representative attorney, it has been brought to my attention that I have made an error in providing incorrect information regarding the LBPP appeal procedure. While the initial denial process was carried out according to standard procedure, I had previously stated that the denial decision was final, but failed to notify your firm of the option for a hearing process through which you would be able to request to have a hearing officer
Please wrap up your remarks.
review the decision
He
before
can
making
finish
final
reading this.
determination.
I'm
Thank
sorry, I didn't hear the last few words.
Okay, so option for a hearing process through which you would be able to request to have a hearing officer review the decision before making the final determination. I apologize for this unintentional error. The information I had provided was given to the best of my knowledge, as I had not been a part of the previous appeals with a hearing process for this certification program, so my apologies for not having provided the correct information.
So is this, they're suggesting there's a second appeal, you appealed once and did not get it, and then you have a second appeal?
Okay, well, right. So there is an appeal process to a hearing officer. You say we were provided an appeal. Well, we were provided an opportunity to object, and so the same folks that made the initial determination went back and said, no, we're going to make the same determination. But we have this appeal process, apparently. They told us that we did not. They told us to go to Water and Power. That's why we're here presenting our issues in terms of this very wrong determination on this local business preference program determination. So we haven't had an appeal.
Okay,
and
we
we've
understand.
been denied due process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Larry Abernathy, and after that, Louis Miramontes.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'd like to just sort of speed the process up and bring up our employees. So there'll be about 6 of us here, and they won't have to say much.
Terrific. Thank you.
I'm Larry Abernathy. I'm the Vice President, General Manager of the Davy Tree Surgery Company. I'm a native Californian. I've been with our company for 47 years. I started this job for LADWP Davy Operations 27 years ago in 1989. And we do have issues, and what I'd like you to do, if you would, in your summary on P1, I think if you could look and see Group 1, you'll see that the contract bids shows utility tree at $15,135,000, Davy Tree at $14,897,000. That question is that $1 million preference that we feel we're entitled to, but have not been granted that. So we have not been given a fair appeal on that, which our attorney just said. So we have that in process, and basically all we're asking is go ahead and award the north which is item, or Group 2 to Utility Tree. There's no contest there. And maybe consider extending our contract from the old one for 2 or 3 months. Our rates are exactly the same as last year's because we kept them the same to try to be competitive, and then allow us to have due process. And with that, I'd like to introduce our supervisor.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Luis Miramontes. I've worked with Davey Tree for 25 years, all of those years here and with LADWP. It's been quite a career here, and you know, we know all your service area. Our customers are very familiar with our service, and with they know Davey as their tree trimmers. Sharon?
Hi, my name is Sherwood. I've worked for Davey Tree for the last 17 years. I started working for Davey Tree right out of college, and the first project I worked on was the LADWP contract. I worked from the San Fernando Valley all the way down to San Pedro. I'm very familiar with our customers. We've always had a very good relationship with your customers. I'd just like to say, you know, I live in Los Angeles. I've worked my whole life. I've worked, lived. So I do think we are a local company. So I just hope we get the chance to continue working for you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Okay. I just wanted to say on behalf of the other employees that don't really want to speak, that all of these employees here are local residents to the County of Los Angeles, and they're employee owners of our company because we're an employee-owned company. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next speaker is Francisco Romo.
Oh, no, he's good.
He's okay. Then Ernesto.
Yes, and our
Okay. Mr. Rosales?
He is okay.
Okay.
There you go.
And then next speaker is Mac Shorty, and after that, Alan Watson.
Max Shorty, Watts neighborhood. It was brought to our attention that these gentlemen serviced the Watts community. I'm pretty familiar with those yellow and green trucks like as a kid, and as you would be a kid who always remember growing up with a Tonka Troy, a Tonka truck, the fire truck, and they have provided a great service to the community, and it concerns me as staying here today and just listening to what's going on and learning the process of how government really works. I have seen and heard some issues here that really concern me when it comes to equity metrics across the city, and I guess it was great that we're reforming the power structure within the DWP with the different unions and everything, and but it saddens me that, you know, the rate payers don't have a say-so in any of this. And I think it's only right, because I'm one of those people who lives down in Watts who don't complain about that $560 bill I get from DWP, but it just concerns me as a ratepayer, and I believe we can do better. And the time now is for better. Too many folks have gone on and lost their lives. It's been 50 years since the revolt of the Watts riot. It should take 50 years for a change. Change should come today, because America is about change and helping its people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Alan Watson, and after that, Matt Asplund.
Good afternoon. I appreciate the comments you made about reading everything. I was the author of the letter that came yesterday. If you have any questions, I'd be here to address them. I apologize if I get your name wrong. Mr. Hinks read an email. What I took from that email from the agency that determines the local business preference is they didn't qualify initially, and they still don't qualify. There's been no change in status. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Matt Asplund, and after that, Daniel Friedman.
Good afternoon. My name is Matt Asplund. I'm an executive vice president with the Asplund Tree Export Company. We're the parent company for UTS. I want to thank you and your staff for recommending us for the award. And we do have concern. Obviously, the previous contract ended the end of June. The trees continue to grow. So we are concerned for your electric customers to get out there and start operations as quickly as possible to maintain compliance and clearances. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Daniel Friedman.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Daniel Friedman with
Good
Jeffrey
afternoon.
Mangles, Butler and Mitchell. We're also representing Davy Tree with Matt Hinks over here. Just want to make a few key points. The lowest bidder on this was, on the southern part of the contract, was Davy Tree by $250,000. They should be awarded this contract because, as we explained in our letter, in a one-year period, they had 54, in the one-year period before the submission, Davy Tree had never had less than 54 qualifying employees at any point. Davy Tree should have been granted the local business preference and would have, but for an error that occurred by the Bureau of Contract Administration, and that's what it was. It was, just to clarify what the other attorney just stated, that it wasn't that it was shown in that email that they didn't qualify. It was shown that they made an error, and that's the important point. I'm going to submit also for the record a list of the employees that were submitted to the Bureau of Contract Administration, so you have it in front of you, and you can use it to the extent that it's helpful for you. So I'm going to come around and provide that to you.
The officer will bring
Great.
it up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was the last speaker card.
Good. Thank you. Mike?
So I'll have Bassam and Gwyn come up to answer any technical questions. But for the power system, I just want to express the importance of tree trimming. As we are in the fourth year of a significant drought, we have very, very dry branches. And when these Santa Ana winds come up and the rainstorms, if hopefully they will occur, loosen the soil, is what happens is that these tree limbs will start to break and fall into our power lines, creating power outages for our customers. Tree trimming provides about 80% of our tree trimming on an annual basis. We've already lost about 4 months. So it's becoming much more critical for us to get ahead of this and act with some urgency because we are very concerned about the reliability and the state of the trees. And so regardless of the decision that the board makes, we would just urge as a power system that we move forward with reliability in mind. So with that, Bassam or Gwyn, if you'd like to summarize any of the technical details on this for the board and give them the opportunity to ask questions.
Okay. The local business preference was Gwen Williams with the Director of Supply Chain Services. And to my left is Linda McGinchey. She's with the Bureau of Contract Administration.
And that's the entity that makes the determination as to who qualifies for the local business
and
preference.
so when we sent the referral over to them to take a look at both UTS and Davy Tree, they're the organization that made the determination that Davy Tree would not qualify for the preference. So I will let Ms. McGinchey address that.
Hello, Linda McGlinchey, Bureau of Contract Administration. Yes, our staff reviewed payroll records in order to determine whether or not Davy Tree met the qualification of having 50 full-time employees working 60% of their annual hours in the County of LA on a regular basis, as required by the ordinance. And based on their documentation that they gave to us, which included payroll records that are submitted for tax purposes, we could only verify, let's see, 42. Thank you, 42 employees working full-time. Granted, they had, on those records, they showed us excess of 700 employees working in the county, but only 42 were working full-time, and that does not meet the requirement. Their basis for stating that they have more than 50 employees is pooling employees together that are working part-time and trying to equate those to full-time equivalents. And there's nothing in the ordinance that says that can be done. And as BCA having the broad discretion to administer the ordinance, we have taken the stance that the intention of the ordinance is to have full-time employees working in the county to further the economy of the city and the county. So that has been our standard, and that is what we have stuck with.
Thank you.
I'll be happy to answer any questions on the spec. This bid, we've been doing this type of specification bid for over 20 years. We've done some changes where we divided them into two separate groups. Before, we used to have only one group, north and south, and we felt we can increase bidders' participation and we get more bidders. So, and for the last 10 years, we've done north and south, and we got multiple bidders. The previous contract was awarded to two separate contractors, and now we did get competitive. It's 4% below our estimate. So it's nothing new that we'll be doing at LUP. And like Mike mentioned, 80% of the tree trimming is done by contractors.
Questions? I will just make a comment. In light of what Mike has emphasized is the urgency to this, and in light of the clarity that the office has provided in terms of their determination, I recommend we proceed and support the staff recommendation. If the other side wishes to pursue it further, they're obviously able to do it, and I assume they will. But I don't think that we have a real choice. I mean, this is kind of blowing up the bid and putting us in a very difficult position in light of the urgency of getting these trees trimmed. So I am going to, at the appropriate time, move that we approve this and sort of let the chips fall where they may. So I move approval.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
It's approved. Thank you all. I believe that wraps up this agenda in light of the fact that we won't have a quorum for item 30, so we can't bring
Right.
it up, and 34 has been deferred, so thank you all, and we're adjourned.